with the lopsided grinning light on my feet. From the woods to the towns I make my way. Grubnar here to save the day.
Hello and well met. This is Lavrin with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to be going over Grubnar's Bastion again. This time I'm going to try to recreate or build it in Fantasy Grounds using some of the assets. Now, I'm not the most proficient user of the Fantasy Grounds map tools. I'll just be the first to admit that. I do have some idea how to use it, but I'm kind of clunky with building with brushes and that sort of thing. I'm okay with tiles, so that's probably the way I'm going to attack this, but some of you out there might be more talented or have practiced more, which is actually a good thing because that's what it would take to get proficient with any tool. So just like Photoshop or anything else out there, you got to put some time into it. So I want to first mention that I am using the extension that creates a palette, and this is basically based off of Bane's extension. This gives me a staging area for the assets that I want to use. So I've already pre-picked these. If you watch the last show, I was kind of talking about this a little bit. So I have some floors, walls, some ladders, that sort of thing. And then we can look at the Bastion in the story entry under this world section. And what we'll do is we'll take this, these are the events actually, but I wanted to take and grab the locations and go to our Bastion that we made. So this is the rat's nest. And essentially I want to try to build something similar to the way we have it here. So we got like this basement area, and that's going to basically be like a pub and then maybe a workshop. And then upstairs is going to be kind of like a dining room. I guess it's more like an entryway, hallway type thing, but that's what I placed it in, as a dining room. And then there will be some bedrooms attached to that, so they'll be all sleeping upstairs, and then all the work gets done down in the basement, essentially. So it's kind of a two-story thing. Not very big, but I have to say that, it's kind of one of those things. The one thing that would dictate some of this is the size. So anything that's cramped is going to be basically 4 squares, and anything that's roomy is 16 squares. And then the next category, I don't remember what it was, but basically that is going to be a larger spot. Same with the workshop. So the workshop and the area below are basically going to be where they have their stuff. So I probably put the workshop on top actually, and then put the dining area next to the pub or something like that. So we'll see. But this is just kind of a preliminary build. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But generally speaking, if you have your own assets, that might be something that you want to bring into this. Also, one of our community members, Vaz, turned me on to a Kickstarter that's going on, and it just started. It's from Heroic Maps. If you guys haven't seen those guys on the DMs Guild and also on the Drive-Thru RPG, they have an upcoming Kickstarter that's going to feature Bastions. It's called Bastion Builder, and I actually had that idea before I even knew about that, but it only dropped like recently. So the Kickstarter is probably about 2/3 of the way funded. I'm not really here to advertise that, but if you're interested in getting assets that are kind of ready-made, which it consists of ready-made rooms and tiles and that sort of thing, so you wouldn't have to necessarily build it in Fantasy Grounds, but you could import it in there and use those assets. So that's why I brought it up. So some of the assets I'm using here are third-party. So that just depends on what your needs are, the style that you like. And some of the tiles here are from Fantasy Grounds, from the art subscription. So I have a link to both the art sub and the Kickstarter. So when the video's over, those links will be there. So now we're going to take a look at Grubnar's rat's nest. And what I want to do is move this off to the side so I can actually have some notes here so I don't lose it. And then I can shrink this down just a little bit so it's not so big. Move that over here so I have the assets ready to go. And this is a lot easier to do than trying to go through the assets as you go, because that takes too long. So I went ahead and just went through the assets and dragged them into the staging area, which is called the Love of Painting, or the Joy of Painting, and that's on the Fantasy Grounds Forge, and it's free. So what I'm going to do is take this, And to grab encounters, or excuse me, I'm going to grab an image. So I want to go to campaign and go to images. And since I want to start my own kind of map, what I'm going to do is create a new category. And then I'm going to edit this list for the category name, and I'll just call this Bastions, just for the sake of it. And that way I have it kind of in one group, kind of separated from the rest. Now what I'm going to do is actually create and add an item. And this is just a blank image. It's like you're in my canvas. And then I'll call this the rat's nest. And generally speaking, I will start it with a precursor or a prefix. So I'll put map underscore the rat's nest. And then I'll just over here in the unidentified area, I'll just say hideout. Just in case I want to share that with the players initially before they acquire it. Now what I'll do is go into the map tools and start utilizing some of the assets. I generally like to work with tiles more than painting, but you can also paint this stuff on to the fantasy grounds depending on what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and set the grid. That's the first thing you want to do. I'm going to start with 100 on the grid size. That's a really good solid size because I plan on exporting this. And what I'm going to do is maybe make two passes at this. So do the floor plan first and then do the other floor plan that's above it so that you have both layers on a separate image. But well, what I'll start with is the basement, the bottom level first. And I already have some assets picked out, like there's some like squares for tiles and such. And what I'm going to do is take and turn the grid on so I can see what's going on here. And right now it's not showing because I don't have anything on the map yet, but it will once I start adding assets. So I'm going to go ahead and take and drag one of the cement assets up here to tiles. And then I'll just plop it down. This is an 8x8 tile. So that's a little bit big, but this is going to be the basement area. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 16x16. And let's see. Or what you could do is leave it at 8x8 because that's the original scale. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, so that's an 8x8 area. So it doesn't necessarily have to be square. So I could take and put this other one over here. And that would essentially be, would that be right? Let's see, 8. We'll see. Okay, then once I have this plotted down, then I'll go ahead and take this and put this across. So 8x8, it becomes 8x16. So this is close to what I was imagining. Or you could take and just take the tile itself and make that 16x16. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's even better. We'll just take this one and delete it. Okay, so now that we have that, this is going to be our base for the basement. And what we'll do is possibly make some walls and try to be a little bit consistent. It doesn't have to be perfect. And what I might do is just add both floors onto the same map just to make it easier for me instead of doing two separate ones. And then you have these wall interiors, and I have some stone walls. So I think what I'll do is add an area here for, this would be the dining hall. And this is going to be, I believe it's a 4x4 area. So let me take a look at that. So dining room, yeah, it's cramped. It's 4x4. So I'll make a little dining room area. So this will be just tiles that are based on this stone floor. I'll take that and put that in here. So this is 6x6. So I want to go with a 4x4. And I'll just park that thing right here. And then what I'll do is drag and drop this over. Oops. Take this asset and move it where I want it to go. So we'll say the dining area is here. And this is the, going to be the workshop. Maybe I will put the pub down here. So how big is the pub? And it's actually pretty big. So we'll leave it there. That's roomy. So that'll be the upstairs. And then I think the bedrooms are 4x4 as well. And I wanted to have at least 4 bedrooms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So they'll be like like a guest room and then all the room to accommodate the hirelings. So what I'll do with that is, did I pick a wooden floor at all? See, there's a dresser, there's some barrels. Yeah, I didn't really pick a wooden area, so I guess I'll just make them stone like the rest of this. So I'll take in, just you can make a duplicate of this tile without having to redo that. So if you go to this duplicate and you have this selected, which I do, you can basically duplicate the layers, and that'll add these on. And I'll do one more. And now with this pointer tool, you can take this and drag these where you want them to go. So the rooms are all going to be down here, I think. This will kind of, oops, I didn't mean to take that one. I need to make one more. So I'll duplicate that layer. Okay, so these are going to be the rooms. And these are, basically the living quarters. And the rest of this is going to be like a workshop. So I'm going to put a fire pit down there, or some kind of a forge or something. Maybe they'll have, I don't think they'd have a forge. Let's do a fire pit. So I'll put a fire pit down here so they've got something to work with. So I'll drag and drop that. That's a 6x6 fire pit. I don't think it needs to be that big. I'll do a 3x3. No, 2x2 is good enough. We don't want it too big because then it'll take up too much room. There we go. So there's the fire pit. And this is basically like their workshop and where they sleep and such. And then upstairs, this will be their main area, but upstairs will be their workshop and the entryway. So this is basically the beginning of what I had in mind for their particular hideout. So instead of having stairs, I think they're going to have a ladder that goes up to the top level, and this makes it easier to conceal. So a staircase is much harder to hide than a ladder. So what I'll do, and it might be a movable ladder at that. So what I might do is place this somewhere strategically. So probably back, along one of these walls. So I'll take the ladder asset and just move it into the tile area. And it's at 2x3. I don't think I want, let's see, this is height. So I want it just to be one square. And then I'll park it over here somewhere. So this is basically where the ladder is going to be to go up. And I'll move that down and rotate it. So just go ahead and rotate that. Let's see. I'll flip it this way. There we go. So there's the ladder, and I'm just going to move it down one square. Whoops. There we go. And if you need to make it a little bit bigger, you can. So maybe I want to stretch this out a little bit. There we go. Change that back to 1. And then flip it. There we go. So this is going to be the area where they come and go from upstairs. And then what I might do is add a little bit of dirt down here, or some kind of debris down at the bottom here to kind of make it look like it's more lived in. So what I'll do is, in this case, I wasn't really prepared for this part of this. So what I'll do is I'll take this assets and go to images. And then I'll go to FG. Let's see. Let's just go to dirt. That's all I really need, is a little patch of dirt. And I'll just kind of paint it on here, or kind of mesh it into the ground. I just kind of want a little area that looks like they've been coming up and down out of the ladder. So here's a dirt patch right here. So I could take that and put that up into the assets area. And this is a 3x4 tile. So I'm going to make this 2 wide, or maybe, no, 3 sounds good. Maybe 2.5. There we go. All right, so now what I'll do is I'll click on this spot, and then I'll adjust it, and then I'll decide how I want it to. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what I'll do here is take this and move it, and then I got to take and put the dirt patch above or below the ladder. And then what I'll do with the dirt patch is go into the alpha here and kind of blend it in a little bit more, so it's not quite so, the contrast isn't so high. So that's going to make it look like they're coming in and out from this area, like it's worn out. And then I'm going to do the same thing around the fire pit. So I'll just use the same asset again. So I'll take this and make a duplicate. And then I'll move this over to the fire pit. I think I'll expand it out to 3x3 as it was originally. And then I'll take and move that below the fire pit. And again, I will take this and mess around with the alpha a little bit. And that kind of gives it that worn out look, like they were sitting around the fire and there's some stuff in here that you can have. So this is just kind of like the basics, just laying things out. And then what we'll do is, let's see, there's some pots, there's some rusty decorations. There's some walls here that we'll put in later. Here's a rusty a bed decoration, so we'll put that in there. And then there's some wall brushes here in the doorway. So I think what I'll do here is start putting I think I'll put the walls in, but I don't want to do it quite yet until I get more of the stuff done. So what I'll do is I'll put a cobweb over here in the corner. Let's see which one. I'll take that one, and this is a 4x2 area. I think that's a little big. So there we go. And then I'll just park that over here, and then I'll rotate this so that it kind of fits the, oops, I want to grab that, rotate it around. Let's see, 2.5, there we go. I'll take that and put it in the corner. And then I'm going to fade it out so it's not so drastic. And it still doesn't look quite right. There we go. That looks a little better. All right, so just kind of adding a little bit of, kind of decor to it. And then maybe I'll put some torches or a brazier. So let's see, what do we got here? So we have a candelabra. Yeah, I'll put all the lighting in it last. And I think I'll put a barrel kind of next to the fire pit. So there's a couple different variations of barrels here. So this is a pretty big barrel. So I only want this to go into a one square area. So we'll put that there, and that's really huge. So let me change that to 0.5. Let's try that. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's much better for scale. All right, so I'm going to go to the selection tool and take this guy here and delete it. So this asset right here is about the size I want. So I'll take that and add another one or two. So I'll make duplicates of that, and we'll move those around. And if you want to kind of do it without snapping to grid, you can hold the control key down, or the shift key, or alt, I guess. Nope. I guess it is control. Yeah, so you hold the control key down, and that gives you the ability to move this stuff without it interfering or trying to snap to grid. So we'll just use that for decoration, basically. There's some rugs that we might place in the room somewhere. So let's get the walls up. So here's a kind of a stone wall asset. I don't think I like that one. Let's try the wood. Let's see. Wall interior. Let's try that. Okay, so this is 1x5. So we'll just see what this looks like. Yeah, that's kind of matches what we're doing here. What the hell happened here? Let's see. Did we lose this somehow? Oh. I don't know why we lost this. What happened to this tile back here? So what's happening is, I keep clicking on the map and forget to change the, what I'm doing here as far as like selection. So this thing, I want to go back to control and then move these around. There we go. And I didn't want them to overlap because it doesn't look right. So Just kind of want them sort of close to each other. What happened to this thing? Oh, I resized it. What the hell? So this is supposed to be 16 by 16, I believe. Oh, no, what happened to our original floor here? I'll change that to 16 by 16. Yeah, I must have accidentally moved something. There we go. And then we could take that and put that on the bottom layer. Yeah, there we go. That still doesn't look right. Okay, let's grab one of these assets. Make a duplicate. And then I wasn't using that asset actually. Let me make sure I got the right. Oh, here we go. This is what I want. This thing here. Okay, now what I want to do is take that asset back. This is like moss covered cement. That's kind of what I was going for. Because this is going to be the basement area, so okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I kind of moved it without realizing it. And then I wanted that down here at the bottom. There we go. Kind of getting things back in order. And then I don't know what the heck I did here, but this is supposed to be 8 by 8. Nope. Is it 4 by 4? Yeah, that's the bedroom. Okay. And then we had a dining room, so make a copy of that. Move that up here. Okay. Now we're back in business. It's really easy to get messed up like this when you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So this is going to actually go up on top. And what I might start doing is putting the stuff in folders so it doesn't get all messed up. So what I'll do is I'll add a folder, and this is going to be the floor tiles, I guess, or we'll just say floor. And this way, when you're working on this kind of stuff, you don't get such a big mess. So we'll put all the flooring stuff in here. And that way, and I can rearrange it later, but I want to put all the stuff in the flooring area in the right spots. Dirt patch, and that's a wall. That's a cement square. I don't know where this stuff is supposed to go right at the moment, but there's a ladder. There's a fire pit. Okay, so the floor is obviously going to have to go down here because that's the lowest level. And the walls are probably going to be, towards the top of this. And then all the decor, I'm going to put that in a folder too. So we'll go with decor. And that'll be the other stuff like the fire pit, the barrels, the ladder, all that stuff. And that way we can turn that off if we want to, and we don't have to worry about, getting it all mixed up and mistaken for other stuff. So this is a good thing to get in the habit of when you're creating content. And then here's the wall interior, so we want that to go up here. Okay, so we got the decor and we got the flooring, and now I got to mess around with this. So dirt patch, cement square, stone floor. Which is which? Okay. I think that has to go to the bottom. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now we got that sorted, and now we'll just start building the walls and adding that stuff in here. And this will be our little kitchen. It's quite a big area, actually, now that I look at it. It sounds small on paper, but it's actually pretty cool. Let's see. So this would probably be better served as a paintbrush. Right now I have this set up as tiles, so let me try the paintbrush method first. Let's see if that's going to work better for the walls. So I want to take and go to brushes, and then I'll take one of these walls that I was trying to use and make that my paintbrush and just come around the periphery. I think that'll be better. And these snap to grid, I believe, so you don't have to fight it as much. The only thing I don't like about using the paintbrush with walls is that you always get this weird corner, and I forget how to deal with that, but I can go and actually extend that a little bit, just kind of make it blend in a little better. And that was a heck of a lot easier than trying to fight the tiles. And you can get this stuff straightened out, if you want. But I think this is good in itself. There we go. So it's kind of tightened it up a little bit. And then I want to go and turn on the navigation bar so I can move the map around and then zoom in and out when I need to. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to move this over and make this map a lot bigger. And that way I have a lot more visibility. So kind of got myself painted into a corner, literally. So, I mean, that looks okay. I mean, this doesn't have to be perfect, right? This is just for my in-house game. And now I'll go back to the brushes again. And let's see if I can... Is it going to let me paint? Oh, I got to go back. There we go. So here we're going to paint in the dividing wall here. And then I'm going to have a wall that encircles this area too. I don't know if it needs to be a full wall, but I'm just going to go ahead and paint it in there just for separation's sake. There we go. So there's the walls for downstairs. And then what I might do is go back to tiles, since it's closer to what I envisioned for this part. So this wall interior, you can come in here and click on one of these, and that should put a wall in there. Yeah, there we go. So we're supposed to have basically 4 rooms. All right, so I'm going to move this guy over. There we go. And then you could take these obviously and clean them up so they're not leaning out there out to the side. You do something like that, and then I guess you can take the eraser tool if you want in the brush area and go to erase, and you can erase out where you want the door to be. So in this area, oops, what's going on? What am I doing wrong here? Let's see. Erase. I don't know why it's not erasing. Let me make sure. Huh. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's some kind of shortcut. But basically, I was trying to take this wall out, but I'm not too worried about it. I can just overlap with the door frame. No big deal. So speaking of door frames, let's grab... So here's a wooden beam, and here's a board. So what I might do is take and... Let's see. I'm going to put another barrel outside of the kitchen or the dining area after the fact. And let's see. Food dish, candles. I guess we can put brazier nearby here, I guess. There's some torches, so maybe I'll put a torch outside of these rooms, like every other square. But they don't need a lot of torchlight, so maybe I'll just leave that as it is. And let's see, so there's some log decorations. Kind of getting distracted because I have all these options, so that's one thing I hate about doing maps is I'll get so wrapped up in the assets that I just forget what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm trying to make the doorway. So here's a wall doorway that I can use. And we'll just drag this into, we got to go to assets. Oops, I didn't want to do that. So let's take this asset and let's change this to 1. There we go. So you might, oops, what the heck happened there? I can delete that. Okay, so what we're going to do is take and grab the doorway, and we're going to make it, let's see, 1 height, and why is that 4? That's really big. Yeah, that's a little big. So what I'll do is shrink this down to more of a more realistic of a size here. And then you could stretch it out if you have to. And like I said, you can hold down the control key. And this will help you control, basically what you want. These are pretty wide doors. And as you can see, I messed up. There we go. So this is, once you have it sized, you can duplicate it so you don't have to do this over and over. So I might do something like that. I'll leave it like that. So this is going to be a little doorway. And then what I'll do is I'll just make a copy of that and put it in this other area. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate that layer. And we'll go from there. So now I'm in the selection mode. So just going to move these over kind of into their place. I'll adjust them later, but just kind of want to get them where I want them to go. Let's make another duplicate of that one and move that up here. And I think I'll probably put one on this side too, so this area is more accessible. But for the time being, let's go ahead and make a duplicate of that one. And then I could flip this around so that it faces, let's see, these face inward. So I want that to actually go the other way. There we go. Outwardly. That way it kind of matches the other doors. All right, so there we go. Like I said, I'm not as efficient with this tool because I don't use it enough. But, I preach it all the time. Might as well learn how to use it by practicing with it. Practice what you preach. Let's put this up here. Put this up here. Yeah, so this will start looking more like the layout once you get more of the assets in here. I might put a one type of, thing in there for like a torch or something. Maybe over here on this corner, I'll put a torch. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the asset spot up here. And this is taking up a 1 by whatever. Let's see how big it looks. Yeah, that's huge. That's what I thought. So what I'll do with that is we'll change this. I don't want that big. So what I'll do is add this torch in, but then I'll change the size up to half of the size, if that, maybe even a quarter. So there's 0.25, and let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's a little bit more realistic. So now I'll just hold down the control key and make sure I'm in the selection tool so I don't draw another one, and just take this and place it on the corner. So something like that, just kind of bring it out, and then maybe I'll make it just slightly bigger. There we go. And this would make it to where, you'll be able to see it, but it's not too big. Let's see what we got here. There we go. And I wanted to borrow one of these and maybe stick one inside here and maybe one outside the door. So go ahead and make duplicates of those and then just move those where you want them to go. So maybe one right here. And then one right there. That'll be so that, it kind of makes it look more like the dining area. And this might be storage. So this might be where they store some of their supplies. All right. So it's kind of shaping up. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll do. So it's just a bastion, right? And if you happen to have a quest or like some sort of, thing going on, it's helpful to have these ready to go in case you need it. So this is the downstairs. They're going to be an upstairs too, but I'm going to go ahead and place the little beds in here. So each room is going to have like 2 beds. So it's a wooden bed, nothing comfortable. And that says 3, so I don't want it 3. So I want it 1 by whatever. So that is going to face against this wall. So we'll put that one there. Yeah, it's a little bit small. So let's do something like that. Just a touch bigger. Okay. And then we'll hit Shift or Control in this case. And now that I have that sized, all I have to do is hit this duplicate layer and make the other beds. So I'll just drag those over here for now, and then I'll put them in position. Okay. So now just highlight the asset that you want. You got to make sure that you're in the selection mode. Okay. So what to do is we'll take this and start moving it around. I think I will center it on that line just to make it easier. Like it's actually going to snap the grid there. And then what I'll do is I'll make another bed, or make a copy of that, rotate it, and then make duplicates and move those because they're going to be on this side of the room. So this is wall, wall, wall. What is that? So bed, wooden, decoration. So where does that go? That go into here? Yeah, it went into the bed area. That's fine. That's the decor area, so that's a good spot for it. All right, so bed, bed, bed. Okay, so let's make a duplicate. Okay, we'll move that. And then I want to rotate it. Oops, other way. Other left. And probably put it in here. And then I'll duplicate that. Just move it over. And I can fix these later. Just get them into rough positioning here. And then we'll move them over. So this is the sleeping quarters for the crew. I think this last room, though, I'm going to make this bed a little bigger. And this is actually their security guy that I can't remember what we called him, Bash or something like that. Is a half orc or an orc guy that stays in here as well. So that's his room. And then the rest of these will be for the goblins. There's just like 4 scouts, and then your crew, the people who work here. Kind of reminds me of like when you're little, when you're playing with figurines. A lot of fun. I kind of miss those days sometimes. I mean, yeah, I've obviously outgrown it, but not entirely. Never outgrow playing. That'll kill you quick. Let's see. There we go. So there's the wooden beds, and then there's the actual the orc's room. So he's going to get the nice rug. The rest of the guys don't care about rugs. So that's a 4x4 area. So let's make that 2 by whatever. And we'll click on there. So some kind of animal pelts for the carpet or for his rugs. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this out a little bit. And then I'm going to take the alpha and kind of blend it into the ground just a little bit more. So it's, oops, do I have the right thing? No, I don't. Select that. And now I'll do the alpha slider. Just slightly, so it kind of blends in with the floor a little bit more. So that's the orc's bedroom, and then the rest of these rooms are for the goblins. So, and then this thing up here is the kitchen or the dining area. So they'll probably eat out here, but there has to be kind of like an area to prepare food too. So what I'll do is, oh, here's a dresser. I forgot about that. So the orc guy is going to have a dresser. So we'll take that and drag that up here. and that's a pretty big dresser, so I want it to go like 2 by whatever. So 2 by 3 by 2. So click that. That's a little big. And let's see what it looks like. Yeah, so I'm going to flip this around, and this is going to be where he stores his stuff and, you know, that kind of thing. So onto the selection tool, and then we're going to rotate it. And this is the drawer part of it, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to move it over here and rotate it. So he's got some books on here on the shelf. And then there's also his, you know, probably his clothes and stuff. So this is just kind of, you know, basics here. You don't have to be too fancy, but you can add decorations. You know, you can do whatever you want. So now I want to make kind of like the mess hall thing, or where they're going to eat at. So let's see, this is a log decoration. Let's see what that looks like. So that might be some wood that they have stacked up here. So I'm going to actually make this a lot smaller. And I'll just click on this area here. I want to make sure that this wood is actually... Why is that not? Okay, that's why. Okay, so here's maybe a stack of wood. Come on. There we go. Sometimes when it gets too small, it can really annoy you, but when you hold the control key, because that's what it's doing. It's trying to snap the grid, and this is a grid, so it's trying its best to behave. So maybe this is some wood that they have stacked up here. So what I'll do is hit the control key. Why is that going into that wrong spot again? Okay. So this is just going to be where the wood is stacked up. You know, hold the control key, kind of move the stuff around. There. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. It's just like a stack of wood. So what we'll do here is probably just take like this board or something flat. Let's see, there's a wall brush. There's an open pot. So I was going to make like a table, like a mess table, where they all kind of congregate to grab food. So probably put that against this wall here. And maybe I'll use that board again. And then take that decor, and let's see, that's 6 by tall by, you know, that's a little too much. So we'll go to 2 by 1. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll put this up against the wall and make it like the shelving or some kind of table-like thing. And then this way they can come up here and they can grab their grub. And again, I'm going to hold the control key to move the asset into place where I want it to go. I think that might be a little too close to the door, so I might shift that over. So there we go. That shifts it over a whole square using the arrow key. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is take that. Okay, so this is in the decor area, which is good. Okay, so we're in the decor section. And now I'm just going to place some of this stuff on this table. So maybe I'll put a candle somewhere in there. And I'm going to shrink that down because it's a little big. Centralize it a little bit more. And then all this food, I'm just going to start adding this. Oops. So take the food dish, add it here. Geez, that's huge. We only want it to be like maybe 1 square at the most. So there's that. Here's some meat platter. So again, and then a couple open pots, I guess, like for beverages. So that's 1 by 1. So let's go with half. We don't need it that big. Yeah, so we have some pots here, or like cups, basically. Like a crude kind of glass type thing. Maybe it's a beverage of some sort. Could be alcohol, who knows? And then we got this food dish, so let's drag that over. And this one's going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be the main centerpiece, I think. Yeah, so I'll flip this around. Look at all the bones. That's pretty cool looking. So take that, move that this way, shrink it down. So if you hold shift and shrink it this way, it'll maintain the aspect ratio. And then if you hold control while you're grabbing it, you can kind of position it without it snapping the grid. And that's the kind of behaviors that you got to get used to when you're using the map tools. So this is just the bottom layer of their hideout. The top is the workshop, so I don't think I'm going to get to that today. This is taking a lot longer than I want. So we'll take that, and we'll want to put this in the decor area because I don't want it all over the place. So the decor stuff is just, you know, the fancy decorations, the candles, you know, that sort of stuff. There we go. So this is going to make it so where, you know, you don't have such a big mess. And then this is going to go in decor. Wall, wall, wall. So we'll make that. We'll add another folder here. What? Okay. So we'll say walls. That way, you know, it's a little bit more organized. We don't have all this big mess. Put all this stuff in here. This is doors and walls and stuff, so hope I didn't mess anything up doing that. Yeah, not really. I think I got it. Okay, so there's the walls. There's the, oops, there's more interior stuff. Okay, so we got the walls, and here's the painted wall. So all that stuff is now organized, so it's not a huge mess. And I think the barrels could probably be a little bigger, but I'm not going to worry too much about it right now. They are goblin size, so we'll leave it at that. So this is the big meal here. So if you're done with this, let's say you didn't want to do much else to it, because I can put a kitchen in here and do all kinds of stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and take this and we'll put this trough in here. And this is going to be 3 by whatever for dimensions. So I'll click there. This is a kind of a place where there's a bunch of swords are washing in here, I guess. So I want to flip that around. It's kind of facing the wrong way. And then just slightly adjust it a little bit. So there's that. Just come across here. And then I'm going to fade it into the background a little bit more. There we go. And that will help with kind of give you the illusion that they got some kind of cleaning going on there. And I think that's it for now. So what I'll do with this is, if you wanted to do like line of sight on here, this would be pretty simple because it's just a bunch of squares. So when you make your bastion, I wouldn't make it too complex because then you're faced with doing all this too. So I'll just take this and add the line of sight here. I want to make sure that I want to select that. Oops, I didn't see that. Okay, so line of sight, square tool. Oops, keep adding stuff when I don't want to. Okay, so square tool, line of sight, wall tool. There we go. So there's that. And then I'll just put some cross lines in here. And if you want a shift will give you a straight line across. And this will help kind of furnish the place and kind of round it out so it's not so plain. And then we'll go ahead and just single click on these excess points. That gets rid of the the excess tails there. If you want to select more than one, you can highlight these and just click delete, and that'll get rid of more than one point. Same thing down here. And here's a single point. So that kind of cleans up the walls. And then I'll just put a doorway in with the rectangle tool. So it'll be a doorway here. And it'll be one here. I'm not so sure why I'm not getting the preview. Usually you can see when you're drawing where the line's going to go. So that I don't know if that's a bug or my video card or what's going on, but I'm not getting the preview image that I used to get. So hopefully that'll get fixed or at least addressed. Okay, so that takes care of that stuff. This makes it very simple and it's not as difficult to place in there. And now for the lighting tool. So I might add a little bit more decor. So maybe the fire pit here, I'll put in some sort of flames. So if I go to assets, I'm going to go to animated fire. Let's try that. Yeah, so I'll use this as my fire. And this will be in the, oops, go to assets. Take this thing here and actually I want to use this one. Take that, drop it in here. And that's a 4x4 square area. I think I only need like one, maybe 1.5, something like that. So let's see what it looks like. Yeah, something like that. And then what I'll do is hold make sure I'm in the pointing or the layer selection. And I'm going to hit Control and drag that up a little so it kind of matches. And then I will fade that out just a touch so it kind of blends in. So there's our fire pit. And then for lighting, just so you have the lighting straightened out. Whoa, what's going on here? Okay, so get rid of that. This is the line of sight, so we'll put that on here. Okay, so now that we have that, I'll lock the line of sight in place so I don't accidentally delete it. There's the fire pit. The walls, I think those are locked into place, and the floor. So I'm locking certain sections, that way I don't accidentally move it like I did earlier. And then the decor area, I'll leave that unlocked because I'll be adding more stuff as time goes on. All right, so let's take a look at the lighting. So we're going to go to ambient lighting first, and we don't need any because this is going to be an interior, so we'll just leave that. But we want the interior lighting, so we're going to add light. And for the candle, we're definitely going to add this little candle thing here. So that'll be on the candle itself. And then for the fire pit, I'm just going to use the torch. So for torch light is going to be here. So now what we can do is kind of preview what this is going to look like. So that looks pretty good. It almost looks like it's outdoor, so I might change that, but it's fine. It'll work. And then if you want to test it out with like your players and such, we can go to the combat tracker. Let's add Grubnar here to this. There we go. So he can see because he's got dark vision. So this area out here looks kind of black and white. Here's the door into here. Here's the door into here. And Grubnar's room is probably down here, so we'll have him go down there. He doesn't get to sleep here very often, but anyways, so this would be kind of like maybe you'd set something up like this for your games. And the thing about it is once you create this, I can actually go in here and let's say I'm going to delete the token off here. And the lighting, I'm going to turn that off for right now. Actually, I'll leave it on. I'm going to turn the grid off temporarily because when I tried to do this before, it kind of messed up, and I don't know why. But anyway, so I'm going to turn the grid off, the visibility, and then I'll go into this preview mode or the play mode and turn off the line of sight stuff for now. And then what I want to do is export it. So when you're done creating a layer, you can export this. So actually, I can take this whole top layer, get rid of all the assets, and just render that. But I'm going to render this as a finished map. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export image file. And I'm just going to call this the rat's nest. This is I'll say Bastion _ rat's nest. And this way I'll know what it is. Rat's nest. And this is Grubnar's image assets, but I want to say map first for my prefix, so that way it sorts better, and then go ahead and export it. Now let's see what it looks like if I, re-import it back without all the assets. So I'll close this for now, close that, go into assets, and go back to the home area, and hit this refresh, because that will rescan the content that I have, and here we go. So here's the map for Grubnar's. So we'll create a map record, and Bob's your uncle, just like that. Oh, it did keep the interesting. It kept the lighting. Cool. And what's nice about that, it's one layer, and you still have the line of sight defined. So that's pretty cool. You don't have to redo that. That's pretty nice. And it's one layer now instead of 50. So that's nice to have that. And then from there, what I might do is build the upstairs and use the same assets in the other thing and just redecorate it, reskin it and change the rooms around and stuff. So I'll probably put an entryway and then maybe another ladder tie-in over here, and then call it good. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then this way you can actually print it off. Like you can take that image, the Bastion itself, and do whatever you want with it. Because then I can share this with the players, and this is now a shared asset so they can see it, and we can put their tokens on it and all kinds of stuff. And then also in this folder view, oops, that's a wrong folder. Let's go to images, campaign, folder. Okay, so there's this XML file is what stored all the line of sight and the lighting stuff that I had assigned to it. So that has to be in the same folder as the rest. But here's what it looks like outside here in a different program. So it's not too bad. I mean, obviously it's not perfect, but at least, you have a start. You have their little setup, your little, house for your players. And then you could decide what you want to put in here later if you want to add more decor to it. But basically, that's one way to do this. You can also get maps that are already pre-done and just kind of redo them for your liking. So it just depends. But the Kickstarter thing that I was telling you about is the Heroes, I can't remember, Heroic Maps. And it was Voss that told me about their latest Kickstarter. So that already has pre-made bastions and tiles, so you can kind of make your own with their assets. Anyhow, folks, you guys have a good afternoon, rest of your day. I think I'll call it. And I think I'm done with Bastions for right now. The only thing I might do is make the NPCs, like the people that actually work there. I think we have, let's see. See, we have the Junkyard Workshop, which is going to be upstairs. The Gathering Pit is basically where we were. Hidden Stash, probably be in one of those rooms. Rags is the boss, so that he's like the boss of the whole operation, so he's probably downstairs. There's 4 scavengers at the most. There's Thaddeus, but he doesn't live there, but he does come and go. He will stay there occasionally, but he's not really a permanent resident. And then Brick the Bruiser, the half-orc enforcer, so he'll live probably downstairs in that big room where I had the big bed. And then there's the orders for the activities. scout, maintain, craft, salvage, empower, which means to keep building the tunnels that are connected to the basement. And then you have your defenses, and then there's some potential complications and plot hooks. So you might have some tidal flooding because it is sort of near the waterfront. There's could be a rival gang incursion. Might be a valuable discovery, or city guards are cracking down in the warrens and causing problems. So that'd be very fun to run that in between adventures, and it kind of gives your players a little bit more to look forward to instead of just boring, same old thing every day. So if you don't have something prepared for your adventure, you can have something like this ready to go. So you have your events. So after 7 days, you roll on the table, and then it gives you the output based off of what you rolled. So no vermin infestations to report. So this was in all as well. And then it says no vermin infestations, which is the subtable that it rolled on. So we've worked on this yesterday. All right, folks, take care. I'll see you around. And I think next time I'm going to go back to working on some other content, but it will still involve Grubnar here. It's going to be kind of like our mascot. And like I said, I made in the very first video, I made both an NPC version and a player version of this character so that depending on what we're going to be doing, we can use this guy in different situations.